Hello everyone and welcome back to another stream from Amman Talks NRL SuperCoach round 9 of the 2024 season. Hopefully the audio is all good. Hopefully you can see my hair just fine as well. This is actually the first stream I'm doing from my new place. So first time testing out this new internet, which I'm hoping is better. Hopefully the audio hasn't changed much as well since I've moved all my stuff. But yeah, let me know of course if there's any issues. Amman's Microwave is now a defunct account, I must say, given that, well, I've got a different microwave now. So let's see what happens. But let's see what interruptions that we're going to have tonight. Yeah, look, hopefully nothing too major. As I said, new place, new internet. So let's see how it goes. But until then, you guys let me know if there's any issues. Missed you. Yeah. Obviously, I was away last week. I was traveling, but it's good to be back. Still plenty of other things to discuss this week. Plenty of centering discussions. Someone's asking Garrick or Carraz. Yep, that's a big one. Armstrong or Jacob Gagai is another one. Trey Fuller, is he a must or can you skip him? Is he going to be Dream Buller 2.0? All of that good stuff. So I guess I'll start off with give a like on the stream if you are enjoying it throughout. It does help me out a lot. Yeah, but without further ado, let's get straight into it. New place, new microwave, same hair. Yeah, look, if I'm moving place, the hair could not change. That had to be the same. But yes, new microwave is a good one. It's a nice Panasonic one. Anyway, in terms of how I'm going the last couple of weeks, pretty good. Had pretty decent green arrows the last couple of weeks, so up to 23k, which look still far away from where I want to be, but trades have worked in the last few weeks, and yeah, teams performing well. Captain Nico Hines last week which was just in the end, of course, very fruitful for points. So 1272 for me last week. So yeah, pretty happy with how things are going. You just got to keep plugging away. In terms of how the league is going, we've got Josh, who's currently ranked at 15th overall. He's topping the Amman Talks NRL SuperCoach Group League. I do encourage joining this league. It closes by the end of round 13. Thanks to Swish as well, who have kindly started supporting the channel as well. So they are offering, I'll be offering, whoever is on the total highest number of points by the end of round 9. So that could be Josh if he holds his position. Do reach out to me. I will be offering a $100 voucher, which you can use towards Swish, which is those kind of celebrity more like athlete shout out videos. So do get joining into the league. The code is 637281. There should be a league code join link thing in the description of the video, but if not, I'll try to add one at least sometime after this goes up on YouTube. But yeah, otherwise, thanks Swish for helping with supporting the channel. I've got a few other SuperCoach goodies which are not at this new place, but things like a rugby ball and things like that, which I'm also going to be giving away. So yeah, do join it, and we'll be giving away a few things throughout the season. That's about it on the league update, as well as my current ranking. In terms of TLT, not too much, I think, this week. Probably the biggest things were that we've got Jacob Gagai has been named. Alamotti was someone who some people were looking at. He had a negative 18 break even. He's not been named this week with Sunia Taruva back. Plenty of movement at the Raiders, so no James Schiller. He's been dropped. Albert Hopewadi has been named at fullback. Chevy Stewart has been dropped. And Simi Sasagi has been dropped, I think, as well, either to the bench or out of the team altogether for Elliot Whitehead. So I actually don't mind this as a Schiller owner. It just means that he won't leak cash. So happy enough with that, not having to force, I guess, to trade him out this week. But he is obviously someone who I think a lot of people are probably looking to move on this week. And I think we'll start this stream off with, we'll chat about cheapies. And then I think we'll talk a little bit more in depth about buys and buy planning, and whether it's still okay to trade in some Origin players this week. The likes of Nathan Cleary, Cam Munster. I think I can see Keith in the chat has said he's brought in Munster this week. Look, Munster this week versus Titans could be a great trade in, but it's also worth looking at how does the upcoming Origin period affect some of these Origin bound guys. So we'll definitely talk about that as well. Thank you, Bailey, as well, saying congrats on the move. Yep, thank you very much. Appreciate it. But yeah, someone's already asking, who should I trade Schiller for if I already have Jacob Gagai? I think we'll just get straight into the... am I a Queenslander or New South Wales? I'm a New South Walesman. born and raised in Sydney. So yes, and I will be going to Origin 1 as well, which should be fun. But yeah, I think let's start off talking about some. Well, should we talk? Yeah, let's talk cheapies first. So I guess, yeah. So I've got a list of cheapies here. People are probably looking at the likes of David Armstrong from the Knights, who has been named this week. Had a really good performance last week, scoring 84. And, people are looking at probably a Jacob Gagai as well. And so they're wondering, if you had to bring one of the two in, let's say you're downgrading Ethan Strange or Schiller, which of the two would you be prioritizing? So my first thoughts were Jacob Gagai, just because he is going to make cash this week. He does have a negative 80 break even. But thinking more and more about it, I am a little bit concerned with his job security because, a lot of people, myself included, did start with him in round 1 when he played round 1 in Vegas. And he actually had a pretty good performance, I must say, in that round 1 game. But then what happened was, as soon as I think it was one of Tane Milne or Isaac Thompson were available, they were straight back into the team and Gagai was dropped. So that already kind of gave some inkling as to, despite Gagai having good performances, he could be out of that team as soon as some of the more prioritized players come back. He has been named again this week. It does help that Tane Milne has been suspended for 2 weeks. Don't even get me started. I think he should have been suspended for way longer than that. But there is Alex Johnson, who is due to come back, I believe, I want to say between round 11 to round 13. And I think he's probably the biggest risk for Gagai, because as soon as he comes back, he's going straight onto the left wing. And then you've got on the right wing, you've got Tane Milne will be back. Isaac Thompson is already there this week. And then you will have, of course, Jacob Gagai. So I kind of think, for me, Gagai's position in the team is going to be based on how soon Alex Johnson comes back. And I think if he's back round 11 to round 13, you're looking at Gagai for maybe, say, 3 weeks to 4 weeks. But that's probably a best case scenario. There is potential that, after 2 weeks, Tane Milne takes maybe the left wing spot and maybe, say, Isaac Thompson stays on the right wing. So I think Gagai will make good money. He has got a negative 80 break even. I haven't actually run the numbers, but I'm going to quickly run it on NRL SuperCoach Stats. Shout out to them as well. So assuming he scored, look, it's Penrith this week, so we know that they're a very, very tough outfit. So let's give Jacob Gagai a score of 30. Let's say he averages maybe, say, 45 for the next few weeks. So if he scores 30 this week, he will make 88k. Then he could make another 58k, but then it could very quickly stall to, say, 9k. So I kind of look at him as maybe someone who will make you, approximately 130, 140k. And I guess I'm looking at it as it's a bit of a time where I think a lot of us have made a lot of money recently. And I'm looking at, is 130k, 140k enough money to make for someone to trade in and trade out? Armstrong does probably have not equal, I'd say he's got slightly better job security. Excuse me, because he looked really good last week in the game that the Knights won. Barry Toohey on Twitter, who's a very reliable kind of Newcastle Knights source. Look, he didn't say anything that's too outlandish in saying that if Armstrong continues to play well, he's likely going to win the spot or keep the spot. But at least you know that it's kind of only a 2-horse race between him and maybe this Fletcher Sharp, who I don't know much about, who was the preferred fullback in New South Wales Cup, but he's injured with a hamstring. And Barry Toohey did mention that Fletcher Sharp, when he comes back, is likely going to be coming back through Reggie's, which makes me think that Armstrong is more likely going to have his spot for longer than Gagai. One thing I will say as well with Armstrong, I think the draw is better for him. So I think his ability to get more points and make more money is going to be there as well. Both better draw, and also I think he probably does have better job security as long as he keeps playing well. And the thing is that I think he will have the opportunity to keep playing well because he's got a good run of games coming up. Flicking over here with the Knights, we're looking at Warriors this week, but it is at home. Then it's Tigers, and then the Dolphins, and then it's the Bulldogs after a bye in round 12. So I'm looking at it as someone who I think could actually be useful as well for round 13 cover. Gagai and the Dragons, the Rabbitohs, having a quick look here, they don't play in round 13. Gagai's got a fairly okay draw after this game against Penrith, but I do have concerns over his job security. Someone's mentioned here, could you just not go Gagai this week and then go from him straight to Armstrong? to me, that feels like it's a lot of burning trades. That's the only issue I have with that particular method. If you're going Gagai, then Armstrong, like you're burning through trades. And I don't think you're going to make, personally, I don't think you're going to make more than 100k this week off Gagai, which could be enough of a trade in. But look, it's Penrith. We know that, if Gagai throws up like a 20-25, that's really quickly going to stall any big money making that he's going to make. So I think for me, so Cyril, you're the one who mentioned, could you just go Gagai and then straight to Armstrong? I personally would think, you decide between one of the two and you just go them this week. And I'm starting to lean towards, I think Armstrong, I think he's more likely in my opinion, going to have a better showing performance-wise and hold that position for longer. We know KP is out for like at least 12 weeks. So I think, longer term, I probably prefer the look of Armstrong job security-wise. So I think if you're looking for a downgrade for a Schiller or Ethan Strange this week in your center wing position, despite Armstrong not making money this week, he'll probably make it next week if he holds a spot. He's the one I would go for. Obviously, the part of me would say you don't have to get an Armstrong in this week, but I know a lot of people are looking to make downgrades this week. So I think if you are forced to trade in one of the two, for a longer term point of view, I think I'd probably rather just take Armstrong. Moz is saying, where's your membership gone? I'm not sure what that would have happened. I haven't changed anything on my end to have this removed, and there's no way I would have removed your membership, Moz. I know you're a very, very big follower, and I very much appreciate your support. What do I think of the new UI for SuperCoach? Yeah, a bit random, to be honest. I didn't think anything needed to be changed, and I saw it and I was like, what's going on here? And look, it looks a bit sleek, but the issue is that I'm just so used to pressing certain buttons to get to certain views, like, what are the upcoming runs for players and stuff. Now that's all a bit different. So that's probably what's going to give me the most headache, just trying to get used to that. So that's my position on the whole Armstrong versus Jacob Gagai. Next biggest cheapie of the week is Trey Fuller. Moz is saying Trey Fuller season baby. So let's talk Trey Fuller. Moz, welcome to being a member again. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And thank you to actually QXYS, who also joined as a member a little bit early in the stream, but I just forgot to acknowledge that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that a lot. So Trey Fuller, is he a buy? So I've put some numbers on the screen here. And so, I just realized I've left something blank. I haven't fully finished my slides. This is what happens when I try to stream early in the week and early on a Tuesday. I don't fully finish putting everything together, but no matter. This is the benefit of having things on like a PowerPoint for Apple. I can just put these numbers in easy peasy. So, Trey Fuller's base power in game 1 was 42, and then it was 71 in game 2. There you go. Done. No problems. You'll miss that. Anyway, so he's basically bottom dollar. His first 2 games have been great. Scores of 87 and then 99. Negative 123 break even. So, yeah, pretty unbelievable. And I think what's good about him is that he's got a good work rate. As I've put there, 42 base power for game 1, 71 for game 2. So that obviously very, very small sample size, but that's a base power average of 57. And so I put in a predicted average of 50. So even if you give him the next 3 weeks, he's probably still going to be making 230k. From memory, if I put in a 57 average for him in the next 3 weeks, he would make 258k. Even if he only plays the next 2 weeks, because Hammer is due back in round 11. So you're probably looking at a case where Trey Fuller plays round 9 and round 10. In those 2 weeks, he would make approximately 220k. So still quite a lot of money that he could make if he averages 50. Cowboys at home, I think that's a pretty... is it at home? I can't remember. But look, Cowboys can concede points on their day. And the thing with Manly as well is that Manly have actually conceded the most points to opposition fullbacks so far this season. One thing I will ask the chat today to give me a hand on. Please keep a running eye on the Daly Cherry Evans judiciary hearing. I'd be very, very keen to see what happens with DCE because he's got a very clean record, but look, he has been charged and it's for 2 games. But if he loses this charge that he's fighting today, he will be out for 3 weeks. Manly without Cherry Evans could be a much easier prospect of an opponent as well. So I think for me, with Fuller, I'm getting around him a little bit more just because, the old adage, especially with fullbacks, is you don't trade out your gun fullbacks. But I think we saw last year it can work with Buller, where, he was coming in at close to bottom dollar and he was actually putting up good scores and people made so much money out of him. There is probably a thing of, I think if you've made a good amount of cash already, you don't need to force him in, especially if, like in my position, I'm going to assume a lot of people out there have a Turbo Reece Walsh combination, because a lot of people would have sold Ponga to Reece Walsh last week. I don't think you sell Reece Walsh to him. He's got a low break even, still got a good run coming up. And Turbo, to be honest, Turbo is really the only fullback I think I would actually consider trading out of the gun fullbacks. So this is me thinking of the likes of a Dylan Edwards, a Pappenhausen, a Reece Walsh, a CNK. Maybe CNK there is a case to sell to Fuller, but assuming like Turbo is probably the most popular one that I think people are looking at. I know people are saying with Fuller that he will cover Hammer during Origin, and that's true, because he will play round 13, 16 and 19. Personally, I'm not even looking at that so much with Fuller. I'm looking at him as a cash grab, and then if you can manage to hold him, let's say he misses 11 and 12, that's 2 weeks that you are going to be without a fullback. Basically, you'll be only playing the one fullback. So you just have to be happy if you can hold him through to round 13. Round 14, then he does have a bye. So if Hamaso is back round 11, you are missing Fuller you're only getting him for one of 4 weeks between round 11 to round 14. So I think I'm not really looking so much at Fuller as, he covers round 13, 16 and 19. I'm more looking at it as how much money can you make out of him in the next 2 or 3 weeks? Because to me, that's really the value I think I see in him. If he can make you an easy 250k in the next 2-3 weeks, but also more importantly, I think is if you say go Turbo down to him, you're freeing up you're freeing up 500k. If that's the money that's getting you like a Terrell May to Fanul Blake, if that's getting you a Dave Fafita in your second row forward, who I think, despite him having a very poor Origin period, is just absolutely killing it at the moment off the bench. If that gets you like a Munster, if that gets you like your Val Holmes has got a really good run, these kind of players, I look at it as you're sacrificing one gun in Turbo to get 2 other guns in 2 other positions. That's to me the kind of situation where I say, the downgrade to Fuller actually can make sense. Because while Turbo has been averaging well, Fuller has been putting up some good scores too, and he's actually passed the eye test as well. So I think that's kind of my general thoughts on Fuller, but I think I've got another slide as well, actually comparing him to all of these other kind of gun fullbacks. So the thing with Turbo, because Turbo is the 10th most traded out player, and I think that's probably the main person that people are looking at trading out for Fuller if they are making that particular move. The thing with Turbo is that the next 2 weeks look really good. Canberra and then the Dolphins. Especially Canberra now without Fogarty. They conceded 40 points last week to the Sharks. And again, this DCE hearing is very important. I did try to look earlier today at any times where Turbo played without Cherry Evans. The thing is that Cherry Evans has never missed games for Manly, except for Origin. And any times he's missed games, Turbo's been out injured as well. So there's actually no stats in the last 5 years of how does Turbo perform without Cherry Evans. Cherry Evans has just always been an ever-present in that team. The only, hypothesis is that if Cherry Evans is in that team, no Hamole or Kuatu, that right side of the team is really weakened. And so you'd have to think then the ball is going to be going through Brooks and going through Turbo. So there's probably going to be more ball in hand for Turbo. Against Canberra and then the Dolphins, that could be really, really tempting. But then I guess the bigger issue or the bigger question mark with Turbo is he going to be a sell anyway eventually? Because he runs into Broncos, Melbourne, which are both at home. Broncos is at Magic Round, so it's going to be in Brisbane. Melbourne is at home. Then he has a bye in round 13, and at which point during Origin you might want to sell him anyway. So I think my thoughts on the Turbo to Fuller is, originally I was against it just because of these next 2 weeks of Turbo. Thinking about it a little bit more, I'm thinking, look, the next 2 weeks could really be crappy if Turbo goes absolutely huge and Fuller only goes, say, 65 the next 2 weeks. But I do think people will be moving on Turbo come round 13. Are you maybe just willing to take a chance to get some serious money out of that downgrade, make money out of Fuller, cop the next 2 weeks, which could maybe not work out for you, but long term, if you're getting in some serious guns with that money that you're selling, that you're getting by selling turbo, then I think it can work out. So again, kind of sitting on the fence a little bit at the moment. My head is still telling me you don't need to sell turbo. He's definitely not a rush, but Fuller, like, to me, it's like Fuller looks more like a buy than turbo is a sell, if that makes sense. So like, I don't think turbo's a hard sell, but I think Fuller's looking actually like a really good buy, at least for the next 2 weeks. But it all depends on Hammer. And because the thing with Hammer is that it was a hamstring injury. Hamstrings are always those injuries that are like, you know, there could always be setbacks. There could always be delays. And, you know, I think a lot of people saw it last year with Buller. They thought he can't keep it up. And he was just putting out really good scores for like a good 4-week stretch. And he just made like 500K. And all of a sudden, it was so easy to go to any gun fullback. And, you know, with Drinky, he still does have a very high break, even at 148. Let's say, hypothetically, Drinkwater goes down to maybe, I don't know, say even 700K. Let's say if by round 11, Fuller's made you 250K, gets to 450K, then you only need another 250 at that point to get to Drinkwater in round 11, who's got Rabbitohs, Tigers, and then plays through Origin as well. So I think that's kind of my overall thoughts on the whole turbo to Fuller trade. At the moment, I'm trying to think of a way to get in guns without selling turbo, but if he's the way to get it, then I think turbos to Fuller actually, to me, can make some sense. But yeah, the next 2 weeks could be a really, really tough watch. I think anyone who's still holding on to Ponga, if you're able to switch duels to get a center wing down to Fuller, I think to me that's a really nice trade. But yeah, otherwise, like, I wouldn't be selling Pappy to Trey Fuller. I wouldn't be selling Reece Walsh. Would definitely not be selling Drinkwater. I think despite the high break even, Drinkwater's got a really good run coming up. Even CNK, to be honest, I think you can still give him this week versus the Knights, but then maybe you can look to sell him next week. So maybe CNK could be a potential downgrade to him. And Dylan Edwards, I'm going to assume a lot of people don't own him already because he's like 914K. But yeah, let's see if there's any comments in the chat here relevant to this as well. Jared is saying, personally looking to sell turbo for the cash, but at the same time, part of me wants to get Garrick at the full break even. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about Garrick this stream as well, guys. Don't you worry. Someone asked before, am I going to have a captaincy slide? Yep, definitely. I've got a slide on captaincy. Captaincy is actually quite a big discussion point this week. Nariak is saying, chase the upside, and a couple of $ sign emojis. So I think we know where his heart lies. He's going to get and chase that money with Trey Fuller. And what is Ian saying? Yeah, why couldn't Fuller be center wing? Yeah, I mean, look, if Trey Fuller was a center wing, this is not even a conversation. I think every man and his dog is trading him in, but unfortunately, he's just a fullback. Good one. He's passed the eye test though, and yeah, like the last 2 weeks, he's actually looked pretty good. Just remind myself of who he's played. I mean, look, he has played Parramatta, who are very leaky, and then the Knights. But look, even then, Cowboys. One thing, you know, people will comment about the weather this week. Sydney weather is going to be a little bit wet. Not, I say a little bit. It's supposed to rain quite heavily over the weekend. If you want to factor in that kind of thinking, in Townsville, it's very dry this weekend. So there could be a game where points are scored. Then Manly, who have conceded the most points to opposition fullbacks. Then Tigers at Magic Ground. Look, Fuller could still be a really good short-term get as well. Alrighty. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. I think the next biggest talking point this week is going to be around let's talk about center wings. Yeah, we'll talk about the center wings and some of these fallen guns. And then we'll crack on to probably... Yeah, Ian makes a really good point with Fuller. 99 points without a try or a try assist. Like, that's the thing. He's not getting, like, junk attacking stats. Like, he's passed the eye test and he's actually getting... Like, he based 45 last week. Turbo last week scored 55, and I'm from memory, yeah, Turbo scored 55 last week with a try. Like, Turbo's base was down a lot last week. It was only 22. So it was a pretty low base game. Sort of, you know, Trey Fuller more than double that as well. So again, I guess the thing with Turbo is that so far this, like, I think people think about Turbo as like 2021, he was just an absolute god. This season, he's only gone over 100 plus once, and that was against Penrith, funnily enough. But he's kind of been hitting more of their 80 scores. So he's not necessarily going to hurt you maybe so much. But look, he scored 165 versus the Raiders last year. So, yeah, do with that information what you will. But yes, in terms of the centre wing gun, so obviously a lot of people are looking at centre wings this week because a lot of people are upgrading the likes of an Ethan Strange. One centre wing who I haven't got on this list here just because of my lack of slide space is Dom Young. I haven't really fully considered Dom Young myself just because he still does have a high break even. And I'm trying to be careful with the Roosters players because the next 3 weeks aren't the easiest, like Broncos, Warriors, and then the Sharks. Raiders in round 12 is good, but then they do also have a bye in round 14. This is something just to be mindful of as well, is that round 14 is going to be a pretty tough week, I think. Just because that's the week after Origin, and Origin players may not always back up. Yeah, so Tyler's asking thoughts on Osako Aman. Yes, we will definitely talk about that as well. So the centre wing guns that I've got here, kind of around the 600k range. So I'm not looking at the likes of a Val Holmes, Manu, Lomax. Those guys are really expensive. I mean, I will say, if you can afford Val Holmes this week, even with Origin, we'll talk about Origin players backing up and whatnot a little bit later. Actually, probably just after this. Val Holmes for me is the best still that I think you can get, especially with what looks like a dry track this week and a really good run coming up. So just for reference, Val Holmes coming up the next few weeks. He's got the Dolphins at home. Then it's the Titans at Seabus, Rabbitohs at Suncorp during Magic Round, then the Tigers at home again. So the next 4 weeks is looking really good. Holmes is pretty matchup proof as well. So yeah, he's still definitely the one I'd be prioritizing, even though he's got 107 break even. But in terms of the other centre wings around the 600k, I've got Garrick, Marzu, Dane Gagai, Sarko, Karaz, Isaac Tungo, and AJ Brimson. They're all kind of around this low 600k range. Some a little bit more expensive, around the 650 mark as well. On DWZ, Ian, I think I probably wouldn't look too much at DWZ at the moment, just because while this week against the Knights is not that bad, he does run into then the Roosters and Penrith, Dolphins before a bye in round 13. So he feels like, to me at the moment, while he's around that 680k, I think there are guys who play round 13, or you can maybe pick up on an upswing. He at the moment feels like the short-term outlook isn't going to be as good. Microphone settings lower with the new setup, or just my ears getting old. It could very easily be the new microphone settings. I'll try to bring the microphone closer to me if that helps a little bit. Because yeah, I did move things around in my box and setup box and whatever. I may have adjusted volume things down during the move, but yeah, I'll try to otherwise just put the volume up, I guess. No Nick Meaney. Look, I mean, there's plenty of centre wings out there, guys. It's just very hard to try to fit all of them. But yes, he's a similar category. He's 616k and he comes up against the Titans, Sharks, Para, Manly. Yeah, look, it's a pretty good run actually coming up for Nick Meaney as well. Averaging 62 though, so I feel like these guys on the list, well, not all of them, but most of these guys on the list I'd probably prefer, I think, to him. So in terms of, I think the big decision that a lot of people are saying was Garrick versus Karaz. So the big difference between Garrick and Karaz is that Karaz does play round 13, Garrick doesn't, but Garrick's got a really nice next 2 weeks coming up. But before it gets a little bit tougher, Broncos, Melbourne, and then the bye in round 13, then Penrith in round 14. If you look at Karaz, he does have Tigers this week. Penrith is obviously going to be tough, but then it's Canberra, who look like a good matchup, Dragons, and then the Knights, and then Parramatta. So I think over the next 6 weeks, Karaz's draw is definitely much better, and he also does cover round 13 and round 14. Part of me, though, still thinks that I prefer Garrick as the option over Karaz. And for me, the main thing is that, like with Garrick, I think what we've seen in the last few years, he is a proven gun, and he's also, like, he's averaged 71 over the last 2 seasons, both 2022 and 2023. We, of course, know 2021 was a bit of an outlier year, but I think with Garrick, like at 605k with a low break even of 4, like I mentioned it last week, I tweeted that I really was hoping Garrick would go not too big because I was looking at trying to pick him up this week for a little bit cheaper. Didn't quite happen, but he kind of showed, I guess, his ceiling, 145. He did score a late junk try, but even if you take that out, we're still looking at a 110 score. And so for me, with Canberra looking as bad as they are, Dolphins the next 2 weeks, this could be the cheapest you get Garrick all season long. And I think with Garrick as well, because of the goal kicking, he is pretty matchup proof. Again, I will say I don't know the result yet of Cherry Evans' judiciary. Because Cherry Evans is a right-sided dominated player, if he's playing, that really helps Garrick. If he's not playing, I still think Garrick maybe takes a bit of a greater role in the team. Like I'm looking at his draw, like over the last over this season so far. Roosters 54. He hasn't really played actually many other tough matchups outside of that, but like he's got 2 scores over 90 plus the 145. To me, he just feels like the proven Supercoach gun compared to Carraz. Like Carraz obviously has got amazing base power work rate. Like his base power average this season so far is 52. He has got a better draw, but part of me, I think this is my gut. My gut still tells me that it's Garrick who I think I would prefer over Carraz, just because I think the goal kicking proven gun during the Origin period, he could be moving to fullback potentially when Turbo's not playing. I think between Garrick and Carraz, I'd probably be preferring Garrick. I think just again gut feel. I feel like he's someone who I think if I buy right now, I can keep him just for the remainder of the season. You know, it wasn't that long ago when Carraz, people were looking at Carraz as like, oh, do we sell him? And then he happened to have a good few weeks. So I think he's maybe one who's more likely, I think, to go through a run of like say some 40s and 50s and then deliver a really big score. Whereas with Garrick, I feel like he's more likely going to be consistently hitting 60s, 70s, plus have the same ceiling as a Carraz as well. That's kind of my verdict on those two. The one who also appeals to me is Asako. So obviously the Dolphins do play round 13, 16 and 19. He's 680k, so he's got a pretty good floor himself as well. It's a 41 base power, which is fine, but he also goal kicks. So he's also one who can pretty much hit around 50 per week. With him, the upcoming run is pretty good. So Cowboys, Manly, Tigers, and then the Warriors, and then also plays round 13. Does miss out round 14, so that is something to factor into your thinking. But I guess Asako, the benefit with him, or what's been good to see with him, is that he's been averaging 70. He's already scored 2 tons this season, and he's only actually scored 3 tries in the first 7 weeks. So shout out to Supercoach Council, who's a fairly new account that I've noticed on Twitter, who's actually posting up some really good stuff. He made a really good case for Asako. Again, still for me, I prefer Garrick. I think it's a 75k difference. And I think I still look at Garrick as longer term. I think he's someone who I would suspect to out average. Asako could be wrong on that one, but he feels like to me with a low break even someone I want to really target for the next 2 weeks. Especially people who are looking at doing Turbo to Fuller. You can kind of hedge your bets a little bit, I guess, if that maybe helps you cope with selling Turbo. If you sell Turbo for Fuller, you can say, well, at least I'll buy Garrick, who's the goal-kicking center for Manly. And so if Turbo goes off, then there's a good chance that Garrick also goes big as well. And then I think there's a few pod shouts here with Gagai, Tungo, and Brimson. With Brimson, I'm not overly keen myself personally, just because I think the upcoming run is a little bit tough. Doesn't play round 13, and he's a bit more attacking stat reliant. Gagai is an interesting pod because he's got a really good floor with a 49 base power average. He's picked up the goal kicking as well. Knights have a fairly okay run, I think, over the next few weeks. I would maybe add say 8 points to his average. So I think if he's averaging 65, he's probably getting to around a 70 average, which is similar to what Garrick can do. But I think, again, as a team, I probably still prefer Manly in attack compared to the Knights. But again, let's see what happens with Cherry Evans. I've actually got the article on NRL.com still open. Seems as though there's been no updates since 6:57, but they're just going through kind of their all jibber jabber. I don't know actually if there's any outcome that's been made. But yeah, Garrick is a keeper, as Tyler says. So Gagai's a nice little pod with the goal kicking. Tungo is also a bit of a pod. He's had a bit of a decline the last few weeks, so he's only had a 3-round average of 41, but he's 610k. He does have a fairly high break even, but it is the Rabbitohs, who we know are conceding points left, right, and center, literally. So I think Tungo is a nice pod. You could consider Toto, but then Toto does have Origin coming up, and I think if you're going to go for a Penrith outside back, probably just take Tungo instead of Toto. But I think for me, he's probably got the best draw, I think, out of these guys here, with Rabbitohs, Dogs, Warriors, and then the Sharks before Dragons in round 13. So I think the general message is you kind of have to go with your gut feel with a lot of these center wings. My gut feel at the moment is telling me Garrick is the one who I want. Not necessarily even just because he scored 145 points, but because even last week I was already eyeing him up last week as someone who I wanted to bottom out. He's kind of bottomed out in my opinion, so my gut is still telling me Garrick is the one who I want. And again, a bit of an emotional game where if I didn't go Garrick and let's say I potted up with Tungo, let's say Tungo scored another 50 and Garrick scores like 100 plus, I'd just be filthy with myself. So that's kind of also the emotional hedge, I guess, you have to play with yourself when you play Supercoach and you have to make these kind of decisions. Marzu, I'm not really considering just because his work rate is down a little bit based on last season. I probably lean to go Gagai with the goal kicking. And I mentioned my thoughts as well on Brimson. So I think around these 600k guys, look, you have got Nick Meaney there as well, but Meaney again feels like one who you're really targeting the matchups. But I'm looking at these guys more as these are bottom guns who you want as season keepers. I would probably go Garrick number 1. I think I'd go Sarko number 2. I think I'd go Karaz number 3. I think Tungo number 4, Gagai 5 out of this list here. And then I think if you really want to pot up, you can go maybe a Brimson. But that's kind of my ranking, I guess, of some of these center wing guns. So hopefully you guys found some value out of that. I'm going to quickly get to the next slide, but I will check the chat and see what's happening there. Mike says, I picked up Karaz early last week for Strange, so now I can grab Garrick too. Yeah, look, obviously, if you can manage to get like 2 of those guys, like I think that's pretty solid. Toolpro says Manu, ? The only reason I haven't really discussed the likes of a Manu or a Lomax is just their price, to be honest. I think Manu is 827k. Like he is, like Val Holmes is cheaper than Lomax and Manu. Absolutely, because of the run coming up, I would take Val Holmes over the one of those 2 guys. The next 3 as well for the Roosters with Broncos, Warriors and Sharks. Like Manu can score big against anyone, but it feels like at 827k, you need him to be averaging like 80 plus. The next 3 weeks, I just feel like that's not going to happen. So that's probably why I haven't really considered him. Same thing with the Lomax as well. There's a few questions coming up about Nico Hines. I do have a slide as well about halfbacks, about Cleary, SJ and Nico Hines. So bear with me. We will definitely get to that as well. So I think one thing I did want to talk a little bit about as well was Origin players in general, because I know Cam Munster is a pretty heavily traded in player. People may be looking at Fafita this week, Cleary as well. People are looking at Cleary as a potential trade in this week as well. So I wanted to quickly go through and look at over the bye period. So I considered this round 13 to round 20 of the popular Supercoach relevant Origin players. How many games are they likely to miss, and what are the turnaround periods for each player post each of the 3 Origin games? So I think I've kind of got a lot of information on this slide, so I probably won't talk through everything. But if I look at Cleary, so people are asking about, SJ to Cleary, is that a potential move that you could make? I think Cleary still is worth the trade, and just because of the really good run coming up, like Rabbitohs this week, it looks like such a great matchup for Cleary to bounce back. I know he was a bit disappointing last week, but we've seen this so many times with him where he goes and scores like low 50s, and then he comes out with like 140, 150 plus. And with Cleary and Penrith in general, so any Origin players from Penrith would miss round 13, 16, and 19, and they actually have a really good turnaround from Origin. And so all of round 14, round 17, and round 20. They play on the Sunday. So they've got the maximum turnaround from every Origin game. Cleary is probably going to miss one of them, but I'd say if he's going to be backing up, then he's got the best turnaround possible. So again, if you're thinking about Cleary as someone that you can trade in through the Origin period, is it worth trading in now? I think because of the good upcoming run for Penrith, which I'll quickly just highlight here. It's Rabbitohs, Bulldogs, Warriors, Sharks. Then the next 4 weeks. So I think the next 2 weeks look pretty good. Warriors away is tough, but Warriors have been leaking points. And then the Sharks, look, that could be a tough matchup. But look, it is Cleary versus, say, an SJ who's got Knights away, then he's got Roosters, Penrith, and then Dolphins. I much prefer Cleary's draw. And I do think that Cleary's run through the Origin period is pretty good as well. He's got games against Manly, Knights, Cowboys, etc. And good turnaround periods as well. So I think someone like a Cleary, I think you can easily trade in this week and feel okay about it. Fafita is a bit of a difficult one because he will miss 4 games during the Origin period. And this is without any backing up, by the way. This is just this is straight up, like this is what they will definitely miss. Any backups do actually affect them as well. So Fafita would miss around 13, 16, 17, and 19. In terms of his turnarounds, he's got a pretty good one as well. 3-day turnaround after Origin Game 1, and then a 4-day one after Origin 3. So I think Fafita is going to miss a fair few number of games, but that during Origin run is pretty good too. Again, this is the kind of thing where I'd say if I was selling Turbo to Fuller this week and I've got 500k sitting in the bank, I'd probably still be trading in Fafita this week because I think he's a bit of a pod. I think he's like 3% owned. Like, I know he's not playing the full 80 minutes, but this role coming off the bench for him still looks really good. And he's kind of one who I'd say, look, with Melbourne, I mean, the draw's not great, but he's kind of matchup proof as well for Fafita. So I think he is going to miss a lot of games during Origin, but he's still someone who I think I'd be tempted to put into my team just because 820k with a 42 break even. Look, he could very easily be around the 800k mark all season long. Turbo is, people are looking at selling Turbo to Fuller. So he will definitely miss 4 games during Origin. He'll miss 13, 16, 17, and 19. But he does have pretty good turnaround periods as well. 4 days after Origin 1 and then 4 days after Origin 3. But we know with Turbo, Manly could rest him at any point just because of the historic injury issues he's had. So look, this is the thing. Turbo will miss 1 extra game compared to a lot of these other Origin players during the bye period. So again, if you want to kind of build a narrative in your head as to, look, he's going to have a tough run coming into Origin, not basing so much in the last couple of weeks, and then potential rest of backing up, then yeah, I think Turbo could be enough for you to maybe sell him to Fuller this week if you want to bank on creating some big cash. Seeing some breaking news in the chat. Jason Demetrio has been sacked supposedly by the Rabbitohs, which look, I don't think anyone's really shocked about that, are they? It's been talked about for quite a while, so yeah, look, not overly surprised, I guess. Yeah, he's been sacked effective immediately. Sounds as though someone's mentioned in the chat Ben Hornby to be the caretaker coach. Look, in terms of what that does for the Rabbitohs, it happens a lot in soccer, in the EPL, like new manager bounce. I wonder if the same thing happens for the Rabbitohs, but look, at the end of the day, I still think while Demetrio has been maybe not been the best for them, like they have got roster problems with like a really weak forward pack, in my opinion, apart from Cam Murray and maybe Kolomatangi. Look, versus Penrith this week, I don't think I would look at this as, I'm now not going to trade in someone like a Cleary or a Tungo, because I still think it's a really good matchup on paper. So I mentioned Turbo. Munster and Harry Grant are 2 Origin guys who I think, if you are looking for an upgrade in your hooker spot, or you may be looking to get in Munster this week, I actually think during the Origin period, they're pretty decent. They're only going to miss 13, 16, and 19. Melbourne already did have a bye in round 4 earlier this season. So pretty much after, if you can navigate round 13, they've got a decent run during Origin, and then they'll only miss the 3 games. And so I think Harry Grant Munster will likely back up. They generally do. They've got 3-day turnarounds after Origin. So they've got a 4-day turnaround after Origin 1, then 3, 4, 2, and 3. So probably still, I think, a good gets for the short term, because I still think there's someone that you can hold during the Origin period and they don't miss that many games. Would I sell Kai Pearce-Paul to Fafita? Probably not. I think Pearce-Paul has been really solid. He's probably not someone who I'd be looking to upgrade. Someone like a Sean Lane, though, instead. If you can go Sean Lane to Fafita, like Sean Lane has been disappointing. So I think that's that's more of an upgrade I'd prefer compared to a Kai Pearce-Paul. Who do I support in the Prem? I support Arsenal. So fingers crossed they can get over the line, but Man City are just too dominant. But praying for my Gunners. The other ones I mentioned, Payne Haas and Val Holmes. Val Holmes, I think, look, I'm spruiking him up this week because I think he only misses 3 games during Origin, which are the Origin weeks. He doesn't miss any extra games, and he generally does always back up for the Cowboys. He's got a 3-day turnaround after Origin 1, and then it's 4 for both Origin 2 and Origin 3 turnarounds. So I think he's someone who, again, I'll look at as you're not going to be missing him a lot, I think, during Origin period. Last season, he was so good during the Origin period. So many people sold him, and he just went nuts. So I think it could happen again. So yeah, Val Holmes for me, I still think is a great trade in this week, and wouldn't worry about Origin with him. Alrighty, bit of chat about Demetrio happening in the chat. We'll talk about a few other cheapies because I did skip some of them. So probably the only other 2 relevant ones who I haven't spoken about already are Max Plath and Bronson Cherry. So Max Plath, he's got a negative 28 break even. He's been so good in the last couple of weeks, but I think I think he's a perfectly fine downgrade option this week because he will make money, and he's just been so solid, like 72 base power last week. The Dolphins do have a few middles and a few more forwards coming back this week. So they've got Felice Kafusi back this week. They do have, what's his name? Connolly Lemuelu coming off the bench as well. And Jesse Bromwich has been named. So I think with Plath, I think you've probably seen the best of him, and I wouldn't really expect too much more. But look, he's averaging 58. I kind of think he's going to be around this 50 to 55 averaging player. Like his first 3 games, he played 43, 54, and 46 minutes, scored 43, 53, and 30. I kind of feel like that's more what you're going to get from him, around the low 50s. The last 2 weeks, he's played 70 minutes and 66 minutes. I kind of feel like he's going to reduce a little bit to maybe something in the 50s. So again, if you want to plug a hole in your 5'8", say if you're selling Ethan Strange, you will make some money going down to him, and I think he'll be a very solid option. And he's got handy duel as well. So I think he's someone who, he's looked really good the last 2 weeks. I wouldn't be expecting those kind of numbers if moving forward, because the Dolphins do have a couple of forwards coming back. I guess the only counter though is that those forwards coming back, a lot of them are edges. Someone like a Flegler is out for 4 weeks, so to be fair, he could actually still continue to play good minutes. So yeah, look, I like Max Plath as a bit of an option this week. You know, maybe if you wanted to get rid of a Sean Lane, get someone with dual, getting rid of someone like an Ethan Strange. I wouldn't sell Dillbags, I think, because it looks like Mitchell Moses could be coming back sooner for the Eels, and until then, Dillbags could be goal kicking as well. I think I wouldn't be selling Dillbags to Plath, but Plath could still be a very solid option, and I don't mind as well. Josh is asking Karaz or Meaney. I think I'd prefer Karaz, to be honest, Joshua. He's averaging more than Meaney this season so far. And I think he's got better work rate and stuff. And the draw is pretty good long term for him as well. The other one is Bronson Cherry. He's got a negative 25 break even, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just going to quickly double check that. Negative 24 according to SuperCoach Stats. Yeah, so he's looked really good as well. He's 408k. We've already spoken about the good draw as well for the Bulldogs. Don't forget about these guys because, you know, the Bulldogs were on the bye last week. But before that, people are looking at the likes of a Josh Addo-Carr, Bronson Cherry. I think if you want to downgrade, but you don't want to go all the way down to like an Armstrong, he's kind of like a mid-ranger. Bronson Cherry has looked pretty good. I think he's a fine kind of mid-range downgrader who might make you, say, 80 to 100k, but he could also be like a 5th or 6th centre wing that you can maybe play on matchups. The benefit, I think, with him is that he plays round 13 and he plays round 14 and he also plays round 16. So I think for the next couple of bye weeks that are coming up over the medium term, he could actually cover you for a few of those weeks. So I don't mind it, but I think a lot of people probably are looking more at the all the way down to an Armstrong. Quickly on Max Plath, Arthur is asking Galvin to Plath too soon. Yeah, see, that's another one where I think Galvin is not someone who I'd be looking at as like a priority to sell. Like Galvin scored 54 last week against the Broncos, who like are obviously a very good team. I think Bulldogs this week is not bad. Then it's Knights, Dolphins, Cowboys. The next 4 weeks are pretty good, and I think we've seen still some good signs out of Galvin that I think Galvin could very easily just be like similar to Plath. I think he could be like a mid-50s averaging player, so I don't think you're going to get a lot of points difference between the two, so I probably wouldn't be doing that kind of move in my opinion. All right, so I think we've spoken about that. We'll speak about front row forwards now, because a lot of people are asking about Terrell May. Is Terrell May a sell? So, of course, the minutes have been pretty bad for Terrell May the last month. So I think he played there was one really good game where he scored like 80 plus points. That was in round 6. But yeah, 3 of the last 4 weeks, he's played 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then 27 minutes. So the minutes have been down. 2 of those 4 games, Bulldogs and the Dragons, the Roosters were putting up a lot of points. Sorry, not the Bulldogs matchup was that one where Dom Young got sent off. So there was a bit of a weird rotation happening. But I think what's happening is White from the Roosters has actually been getting increased minutes. So the last month, his minutes have gone from, it was like around the 20s early in the season, to 31, 26, 38, and 32. So he's getting a few more minutes compared to Terrell May. Look, I probably think that May could be moved on for sure, because he's got a 91 break even, and he will start to lose money based on what we're seeing. But originally I was happy to sell, but thinking about it a little bit more, I think I might just hold Terrell May just because I want to see what happens with the minutes still the next couple of weeks. The next few weeks are a little bit tougher for the Roosters in terms of matchups. And like we've seen, I think so far this season, that the Roosters in the games where Terrell May has played bigger minutes, they've generally won. Like against the Broncos round 1, he played 54 minutes. They've got the Broncos again this week. Against the Panthers, he played 55 minutes. Look, they didn't win, but like he's played bigger minutes in these tougher games. And they've got next 3 weeks are pretty tough. Broncos, Warriors, and then the Sharks. And then round 13, Lindsay Collins will be away for Origin. So you'd think that Terrell May will get more minutes at that point. And then round 16 as well, he plays the bye. Again, Collins will be out for Origin and Terrell May should be playing more minutes. Spencer Leniu will be coming back, but look, Spencer Leniu, I guess, isn't a big minute prop himself. So I think with Terrell May, my view is, like, if you're looking at boosting this week and you can boost, I think if you can boost May to AFB, I think you do that move because AFB is probably going to be the top scoring prop for Supercoach this season with, Tino Fasumalawi out for the season and then Payne Haas will miss games through Origin. But Fanil Blake's not really going to be affected by that. Fanil Blake, I don't think plays, he doesn't play round 13. He does play round 16. He also doesn't play round 19. But the thing is with Fanil Blake, like, he's only going to miss 2 games for the rest of the season. So you can very easily bring him in. And I think Fanil Blake is someone who I'd be happy to trade Terrell May to for a boost. Outside of that, though, I think I probably wouldn't be rushing Terrell May out just because while there's a few other options in front row forward who I've mentioned here, the likes of a Jamin Jolliffe, Hazelton, Josh Kerr, Max King, maybe a Samuel Fainu, like none of them are screaming must buy. And front row forward is just such a low upside position. I'm just thinking any given week Terrell May could like just come on for like 35, 40 minutes. Like his base power PPM is still really good, 1.16. So like even if he's getting 35 minutes and he gets to like a low 40s, I might just be happy to cop that because the difference between him and whoever I sell him to probably not going to be that big of a difference. I could be completely wrong, could be way off, but I'm thinking because of the round 13 cover and especially with Collins going, I think the minutes still could be there. And I think the next 3 weeks are tougher opposition who Robinson has given him bigger minutes in these type of games. So I'm kind of holding hope that Terrell May can come good. But look, could just be me hoping and praying. Brendan Daly, thank you for becoming a member. Very much appreciate that. As has James Austin, been a member for 21 months. Wow, that is incredible. That's like what? That's almost 2 years of being a member. Very, very much appreciated. Same with Corey becoming a member. Very much appreciated. James Austin, $7.99. Thank you so much for that donation. Very, very kind. He's saying, "Am I stupid?" ? No, absolutely not. I'm thinking. Well, let's read the whole thing and then we'll decide. Thinking of running 3 nuffs at prop with AFB so I can run a VC loop each week. Thoughts? Look, I'm not going to call you stupid because that's a bit rude, but look, I wouldn't be doing that. No, don't be running 3 nuffs because look, AFB is going to have a buy in round 13 and you're going to run 0 props. Look, I know front row forward is a low upside gross position, but I wouldn't be trying to I wouldn't just be completely ignoring it. Like there are still points to be got there. Like a lot of these guys who I've mentioned here, Joel's got a 3-round average of 70, Hazelton 68, Max King 64. Like, we're looking at the likes of Ruben Garrick averaging 70 over the season. Like, there are times where front row forwards can go on runs and score big still. So I wouldn't just be completely nuffing out your front row forward. So I very much appreciate the $7.99. You're going to get my morning coffee tomorrow, so I will be definitely thinking of you when I get it. But no, I wouldn't be running 3 props. I would still try to get 2 playing front row forwards. Aman, don't sugarcoat it. He's stupid. Nah, he's not stupid. Definitely not. Look, I'm open to any crazy tactic for Supercoach because, look, I haven't won the thing. So until I've won the thing, how can I knock someone else's suggestions? Someone else asked early in the stream, if you have Terrell May and Liam Henry, do you need to make a trade? I'm in the same position. I own Liam Henry, but look, he's not been named this week, but he's completely out of the squad, which makes me think that maybe he's just got a knock and hopefully he comes back. Penrith do play round 13. So if they miss like a Liam Martin and an Isaiah Yeo, then hopefully Liam Henry comes back. So I'm probably just going to keep Liam Henry in my team until round 13 and hope that he gets a run at that point. Yeah, but in terms, like, look, if you are selling Terrell May, look, Adam Blake is the best. I'd be getting him over Payne Haas, who's going to miss games through Origin. I haven't got Josh Curran here, but and that was mainly because a lot of people have already probably traded in Curran over the last few weeks, but at 550k, he's probably someone who I would get actually above. Apart from AFB, I'd actually probably get him above all of these guys, mainly just because he's a solid 60 averager and he's got dual as well, and you just can't go wrong with him. Like, his lowest score this season is 52, Josh Curran. So, like, just so consistent. You can never go wrong with him. So, yeah, I like Curran a lot if you haven't got him in already. Otherwise, if you had to trade someone and you can't afford Fanua Blake, I like Josh Kerr. I think with Flegler out, I know I was talking before with Max Plath with some forwards coming back, but in terms of middle forwards, they are missing Flegler. And Josh Kerr, like, he's 460k, so you are going down in price. He plays every single bye week, and he's just got a really great base power PPM. So he's someone who I think, even if he only gets, like, say, 35, 40 minutes, he can still punch out like 50s, and he's got attacking stats in him as well. And I think if you're looking at front and forwards, you probably want to get someone who's got a little bit of an upside. I think Josh Kerr has got that. Like, I've been spruiking Josh Kerr for a good chunk of the season, especially towards the beginning of the season. But, like, he scored 66 last week in 38 minutes. In 38 minutes last week, he based 48. Like, he's got that really high work rate. So I think he's definitely someone that you can consider. I think if you're looking to go really cheap, you can go Samuel Lafinu as well. He's 350k, so at least you're making 150k out of that downgrade. I brought in Fainu last week, and that was just because I wanted someone who was dual, and it looks like he's going to get an 80-minute role on the edge for the Tigers. So I think it doesn't cover round 13, but the good thing with Tigers players is that after round 13, they play all the way through until like round 25. So he's a nice long-term option as well, Fainu. Let's see. Thank you, Joshua, for becoming a member. Appreciate that. Thank you. I think I shout out Corey as well. Gazaraki, $5. Thank you so much for that donation. You know what, I'm going to give you a love heart on your super chat, and I will give the same to James Austin. Gazaraki says, crazy thoughts part 2. I think Hines is washed. Is it time to bring back Hutcho and straight captain? Yeah, that's crazy thoughts. I'm not. Thank you, Gazaraki. You've got my afternoon coffee. But no, I don't think I would be doing that particular move. On the second row forwards, I kind of have spoken already about Fafita in a bit, so I'm probably not going to speak about him much more. Sean is asking May to Nickera via duels. That's actually a trade that I was contemplating myself this week. So with Nickera, I'm cooling on it a little bit though. So I know he scored really well last week, but the Sharks did put on like 40 points against the Raiders. Dragons this week does look good. And I know with back rowers, the draw doesn't matter so much. But I guess with someone like a Nickera who has got a slightly lower floor, like he's got a base power average so far this season of 48. I'm just going to quickly double check. He's got no injury affected games. Yeah, look, he hasn't got any injury affected games so far this season. So he's got a base power average of 48. And so like I'm looking at after Dragons this week, it's Melbourne, Roosters, Penrith. But he does play round 13 against Parramatta. I'm thinking, even if I wanted Nickera for round 13 cover, after that really tough run of 3 games before round 13, he might not actually be that different in price. He could maybe even be a little bit lower if he's only getting, say, 50s. He could maybe drop down to 550k. And I just think even if he does get some attacking stats against the Dragons, with these other tough games coming up, he could still maybe just be around mid 600s. So he won't be that difference in price to what he is currently. So I think so far we've only really seen the one good game out of him, and it was in a drubbing of the Raiders. I'm now thinking about it a little bit more, not 100% sure if I'm overly sold on him. Yeah, Nick is mentioning he did have a sin bin affected game, but he still played 70 minutes. So I think he still played a reasonable amount of minutes in that game to warrant looking at the base power numbers, including that game as well. So I think Nickera, May to Nickera, like I was looking at it as a boost. I'm not sure if I would be doing it, but like again, if you like the look of Nickera, I think I can't knock the move. On Olakau'atu, someone earlier asked, is he a sell? I can't see where the chat was, apologies. But Oluquatu is a tough one because I think he is a season-long keeper, but he will miss. And shout out to SC Playbook who pulled his numbers and pulled this fact together, not me. But Oluquatu is already missing the next 2 weeks. He then comes back to Broncos, Melbourne, and then a bye in round 13. And I think a lot of people probably do think that Oluquatu is going to play Origin for New South Wales, which if he does, it means of the next 10 rounds, he misses half of them. So he'll miss 5 games of the next 10. He's at a good price at 713k. So I kind of look at him as he is someone that you could sell. Maybe as it like you can maybe go up to Fafita, but look, Fafita's also going to miss a lot of games. But at least you can go a little bit of a pod with Fafita. I don't know if a lot of people are going to be going to him. So yeah, I think Oluquatu is someone that you could definitely sell. Because he will miss a fair chunk of games. But if you've been burning through trades and you can still cover him, like maybe if you've got like the likes of a Pierce Paul or Crichton, even maybe say a Smithies, you can at least plug your second forward with other guys to cover. But look, you are missing him for a fair chunk of games. So I think, pretty. I think I'd be okay to sell him if you had to. He went to the bin. Yeah, so obviously there was 10 minutes where he didn't make say any tackles, but even if we give him back those 10 minutes, he's got a PPM of 0.72, so like he would have got another 5-6 points. If his let's just say his base power average would be 50 instead. Like it's not a massive difference, I guess. Samuel is asking, hey, love your work, thank you. Just wondering if Ola is a sell. Yeah, we've just kind of mentioned that as well. Jake $7.99, thank you so much, very much appreciate that. This is love this. This is strictly schooner money only. Got to balance out that caffeine. Jake, don't you worry. I'll be strictly keeping that for schooners. I've actually got a work event on Friday. So I will be having some schooners on Friday. Don't you worry. I'll be thinking of Jake when I get my schooner on Friday. Probably getting a schooner of Stoner Wood. I do love my Stoner Wood. Very good drink. Gazaraki, another $5. Thank you so much. Upgrading Jake Young schooner money to a shot of $5. Oh God, a shot. If I had to have a shot on Friday, what would I be having? I think I've got to be Fireball. I do like my Fireball. So basically, what I'm hearing is that Jake is going to sponsor my schooner of Stoner Wood, and then Gazaraki is sponsoring my shot of Fireball on Friday. So thank you guys for that. Very much appreciate that. Alrighty. I did promise some halfback chat, so I'll quickly go through that because a lot of people were asking about it earlier in the stream. Look, Nico Hines does have a tough run coming up, rounds 10, 11, 12, but I still don't think Hines is going to play Origin. And look, with a -3 break even, without Braden Trindle against the Dragons, I know rounds 10 to 12 look tough, but I think if you don't own Hines, I think you've just got to get him this week, to be honest. Like, it could be anything against the Dragons. I think Ian Johnson had put some numbers before early in the chat about his 5-round average against the Dragons. It was like 140 something. So yeah, definitely be going Hines this week if you could. And I think I mentioned earlier with SJ, I'd probably be making that change to Cleary if I could. This week, I think if you could only get one of Cleary or Hines this week, I think it has to be. Hines for me this week with the negative break even. And look, a couple of weeks ago, I basically said, with Trindle in the team, I don't think Hines is the Supercoach gun that we had so well known and loved, but Trindle's not there anymore, and so I redact that statement. Hines is back, baby. People are saying, amazing choice. Thank you, Jake. I very much appreciate that. I'm glad that you appreciate where my where your $8 is going towards on Friday. Tequila, I can't do tequila. Great Northern for the win. I don't mind a Great Northern as well. Here we go, Ian. Nico averages 153 against the Dragons last 3 rounds. There you go. Ian's selling Hines for me, not even me. So that actually ties nicely into captaincy chat for this week, because I think a lot of people are looking at VC, Cleary, or Hines this week. Which of the because you can't do both. If you VC Cleary, you can't go captaincy on Hines. Cyril, look at this, $11.50 donation. How good is this? Remember, fellas, he's a Roosters fan. A schooner out east costs way more than $8. Yeah, look, Cyril gets it. Not that I'm disparaging the other donations. I so greatly appreciate that. But yes, I'll be out in the city on Friday, and a schooner does not cost $8 in the city. So, but guys, don't worry. I'm fine. I'm well set up in my life, so you don't need to be upping your donation just because I'm going to be buying schooners in the eastern suburbs or the city. But sorry, real $11.50. That is a very, very generous donation. It's a very exact donation as well, which makes me think that you've recently bought a schooner in the eastern suburbs. So yeah, very, very much appreciate that, guys. You've been very, very generous. But yes, in terms of the captaincy this week, so I always look at when I first when the game first unlocks on a Monday, and who do I set my captaincy and vice captaincy to? My first thoughts are generally my best thoughts. And where I went this week, I went VC Turbo, and I went VC Pappy, and I went captaincy Hines, because I just saw captaincy on Hines at home to the Dragons, who's got a great record against. Then people start talking about weather and whatnot, but I'm still thinking, like, I know Rabbitohs have been very poor, but look, Dimitri has been sacked. Maybe there's a bit of a new manager bounce, if you want to call it that. But yeah, for me, Hines, just based on what we've seen recently, like, he's got a better floor, I think, than Cleary as well. So, like, Hines last week, I'm going to have a quick look. He had some pretty strong base numbers last week, Hines. Yeah, he based 35 last week. It was 46 the week before. So even if he does nothing, I still suspect him to get 50. Cleary, I still think, needs to do some more to get to 50. So yeah, I would definitely be going Hines captain. I definitely prefer Hines over Cleary this week. I know Rabbitohs have actually conceded the most points to opposition halfbacks this season. But again, this is a gut feel, guys. My gut is telling me Hines is the one who I'd prefer to have the captaincy on. He plays the very last game of the round as well. So bit of a psychological thing as well. It's nice knowing that you've got your captain left to save your week. It happened for me last week. So yeah, I'll probably be going captain Hines. And I'll most likely be going VC on one of the fullbacks, which for me, I'm a Turbo Pappy owner. I think Canberra at home for 4 Pines Park does look very tempting for Turbo, but Pappy away to the Titans, who have conceded a lot of tries to fullbacks. I think at the moment I'll be going in my own team, I'll be going VC Pappy and captaincy on Hines. If you've got someone else like a Tungo, you can maybe VC them as well against the Rabbitohs. But yeah, if you're a Turbo Pappy owner like myself, I prefer to Pappy, I think. I know it's an away matchup, but Titans have conceded a lot of points to opposition fullbacks. And Raiders, you'd have to think, yes, they got a drubbing last week, but surely Ricky sorts them out a little bit. And I'd be very keen to see what happens with Cherry Evans. In the judiciary, doesn't seem as though it's been... okay, so it says, as of 7:35, so that's 5 minutes ago, evidence is concluded. The panel are now deliberating their verdict. So we don't know yet, but they're deciding. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, you can go maybe VC Val Holmes playing in the dry, as Tyler says. Definitely an option. You can definitely go Drinkwater as well. I think, I'm not mistaken, the Cowboys play on Saturday night. So you could, if you can make the loop work, which hopefully people can with Parramatta on the bye this week, you can go maybe VC Val Holmes and then maybe captaincy Hines. But I'm happy to go VC Pappy, I think, at 5:30 against the Titans, and then, yeah, captaincy Hines. SJ or DWZ pod captain, I don't think so this week. I think just based on what we've seen out of the Warriors recently, and I don't think the Knights are that bad. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be going there, in my opinion. Wet hair Nico is an uptick of 10 plus points. Yeah, that's the other thing. I know there's a lot of chat about the wet weather, but we saw not that long ago that it didn't really matter to a lot of players. And remember, was it that game? That game last year where Hines scored 180 versus the Dragons? I'm pretty sure there was a little bit of rain on that day too. So we know the Prince Nico, when his hair is wet, he averages an extra 50 points. So yeah, that's where I'm landing at the moment. All right, so I think that's probably enough of the pre-planned content. Just going to try to bring up my team. Hopefully this works. Let me quickly just sort things out on my end. Apologies. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that okay. Okay, so we're going an hour 10 minutes as well, so I probably won't do too many questions. Hopefully I've answered a lot of your questions already, but I might be able to do a Thursday stream as well, so I'll probably minimize the Q&A just given the time, and I'm getting a bit hungry. Haven't had dinner yet. But yeah, in terms of trades for this week, so originally what I was looking at was Strange and Schiller out. I think I will be doing that. As I said before, I think Garrick as well will want. So I think I'm going to be doing Strange to Garrick And originally I was going to do Schiller to Armstrong as the way I would be doing that. So I think I'd be doing that this way. I'd have 174k in the bank. And originally I was doing Terrell May to Nickera. But one of the issues I found with that, and just with my team in general, is that I've got a lot of money in my hookers and second row forward. So I've got Harry Grant and Lussick, a lot of money in there. I've got Eli Katoa, Kaipispol, Crichton, Lane already in my second row forward. I'm like, do I really need to add Nickera to that? I probably don't. And for me, the center wing is where I'm lacking, because even if I add in Garrick, I've got Val Holmes, Garrick, RTS, and then one of Taylor May or Eero. So it's getting a little bit better. But I don't think I want to be spending this 174k and going heavy in my second row forward. I'd rather keep this money, I think, for the center wing. So like, if I was really, really ballsy, and if I was happy to go, I just realized Turbo VC was on my screen. The intention was Pappy, but if I wanted to be really, really gutsy and get in Trey Fuller, it would be for Turbo. That's, my God. That's 776k in the bank. If I did Turbo to Fuller, I wouldn't be doing Schiller out, just because I think there's no need to make that move this week when Schiller's on a bye. Schiller's not been named, so he's not going to lose cash. And Armstrong, I can give it another week. That's 504k in the bank. So I could maybe leave it at that. I can go Taylor May out. I probably will keep Taylor May. I know people maybe have been looking at maybe selling him this week, but I guess the thing is that against the Rabbitohs, he's lost money now as well. Like, yeah, there's a lot of you've lost some money on him. There's a good run coming up. I think Taylor May, I'm probably just happy to keep in my team and maybe just play on matchups. But with 504k in the bank, I could just leave it like that, and then give myself another week next week maybe trade in. I can maybe go, if Armstrong is an option, maybe I go Talangi down to Armstrong, or maybe with that money I would go Schiller to any center wing. I could maybe go Schiller to like a Manu. I can go Schiller to like an Asako, and then I've still got heaps of money in the bank as well. And I'd probably just keep that 292k, to be honest, to maybe go upgrade Fuller again to like another fullback, maybe like a drink order or something like that. But at least this is the one benefit that Turbo out does have for my team, is that it frees up so much money, which I can then pump into my center wing, which I think at the moment is lacking. I think I've got enough money in my second row forwards. As I said before, I think I'm just happy to keep Terrell May for the time being. So yeah, I'm really like, Ethan Strange to Garrick will definitely happen, I think, in my opinion. It's just, do I fund it with Turbo to Fuller, or do I fund it with Schiller to Armstrong? That's really my main decision for this week. So that's kind of what I'm really landing on at the moment. The only saving grace of if I did trade out Turbo to Fuller is that at least I'm getting in Garrick again. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment with my team. Can you guys see my screen, by the way? Because I'm looking at my OBS, and I can't see if you guys can actually see my team yet. Let me have a look. See. Hopefully you can. I should have changed it. Anyway, if you haven't, I'll post pictures of my team up anyway. Yeah, the other thing with not having to trade out Talangi, I'd be happy to keep him and see what happens next week, because Gutherson has been Gutherson has been ruled out for 4 to 5 weeks. So there is potential that Talangi could come back in and play some fullback and maybe make some extra money. Aman, what's my team value? My team value at the moment, 13.5 million. I think with team value and what you're looking at, to be honest, I think if you're getting to like 14 million, I think you've got plenty of cash. Even 13.5 million, to be honest, I feel like I've got enough cash generated. But I don't know. Again, Turbo out is dirty. I know. Look, Turbo out against when he's got the Raiders this week could be really bad. Could go terribly wrong. But yeah, part of me does think Trey Fuller is like Buller 2.0, and he could just make so much money even in the next 2 weeks, and then I just trade him out for whatever other fullback I decide. Because I think if I sell Turbo, I'm not going to be getting him back until I think post Origin. So it would just be bringing it forward a little bit, but yeah, it's a tough one. Yes, we can. Resolution is horrid. Sorry about that. I guess my internet isn't as good as I would have hoped for. But look, maybe, actually, to be fair, I know you guys have been investing a lot of super chats into my caffeine, into my into my schooners, but maybe I should be using that to get myself a better webcam potentially. But yeah, hopefully I've zoomed in a little bit, so hopefully that looks a little bit better. All right, we'll take a few questions and I think we'll wrap it up there. But guys, there's 322 of you watching, which is awesome. Please do give the stream a like if you have enjoyed it so far. Oliver says, thoughts on Burton? No other 5'8" is standing out. Burton is just so expensive. He's 770k. I think if you're looking at a trade in this week, I think you just go Munster. He's cheaper. Got the Titans this week, and I think he's just the proven gun. And I like his next 4 weeks: Titans, Sharks, Para, and Manly. Yeah, that's definitely who I think I'd be getting. And as I said before, the Storm Origin players don't actually miss that many games during they only miss the Origin games, and they've got a pretty favourable turnaround. So I think I would be looking at Munster over Burton myself. Is Felt worth a shout? Now that is a pod who I did not expect to be talking about this week. 480k, it's 51 average. Nah, I like. If you're looking in the 400Ks, I'd probably go Bronson Cherry, who's got a negative break even. Otherwise, I think you just, for the Cowboys, you spend big and just get Val Holmes. Thoughts on Dearden's run of games coming up? Yeah, look, Dearden has, like, as I've said, Cowboys have got a good run coming up. He's actually been pretty solid himself. He's averaging close to 60, got 60 points last week as well. Like, he needs to do a lot to get his scores, but look, the runs coming up is pretty good. We saw him last year go on, like, this run where he scored, like, 170 plus. Generally passes the eye test. Look, I don't mind him as a bit of a pod in your 5'8", but yeah, I think that's probably who I would be. Like, not my preferred option, but yeah. Okay, breaking news. So yeah, Daly Cherry Evans has been successful in having his charge downgraded, so he is free to play this week. So I think that is thank you Tool Pro for mentioning that. So yeah, obviously again, I think this really helps people who are looking at buying Garrick this week. That Cherry Evans being the right-sided player is good for Garrick, and yeah, probably if you want to make the argument that means that Turbo is not going to get as much ball, you can maybe make that narrative as well. Cash Rule says $10 donation. Thank you so much. Towards the new webcam. Thank you. Appreciate that a lot. Strange and Schiller out for Garrick and Armstrong. Thoughts? Look, that could be my exact trade-ins this week. So look, I'm for that. I think Armstrong is more likely to hold a spot than a Jacob Gagai. And again, my feeling would be that Armstrong will hold the spot at least for a good 4 to 5 weeks. So I think you'll at least get him until round 13. So yeah, I think those two moves are pretty good, especially with this news that Cherry Evans is going to be playing. Come on, Casual, get him drunk with us. The cam can wait. Jake Young is Jake Young is like the devil on my shoulder, trying to make me to do get on some shenanigans on Friday. SJ to Cleary, yeah, I'd be pretty happy doing that trade, as I mentioned earlier. King Kyrie saying the same thing. Yeah, I'd be pretty happy to make that particular trade myself. Now that Cherry Evans is playing, sell Luke Brooks. Yeah, look, I sold Luke Brooks last week for Cleary. I still think if you own Brooks, yeah, he's a sell for me. Just even with the easy matchups, he's just not quite getting it done now. In particular now, Cherry Evans is playing. Yeah, look, Brooks isn't going to get as much ball. Thoughts on Terrell May, Brooks, Schiller out for Fanil Blake, Cleary and Garrick. You must have a war chest. Those are some lovely, lovely trades. You're getting in 3 guns for like 3 middies. Yeah, lock that boost in. That is a beautiful boost. I'll take one more question now. Teddy, Schiller or Bostock and Terrell May. Out for Fuller, Garrick and Haas. Thoughts? Okay, so you're going Teddy and then one of Schiller or Bostock and then Terrell May for Fuller, Garrick and Haas. I mean, as I said, I like Garrick. I think paying Haas as an upgrade to Terrell May is good. I think if you're going Haas, to be honest, I'd probably rather go AFB. I think if you swap Haas to AFB and you're getting Garrick and Fuller in for those 3, you look even. Yeah, I didn't really mention, but Teddy I think is actually fine to downgrade as well to Fuller. I know he scored well last week, but yeah, Broncos, Warriors, and Sharks it is a bit of a tougher run coming up. He's 590k. Yeah, I'd probably actually be okay selling Teddy to Fuller, in my opinion. Oliver, yes. Is this the week to go for Val Holmes? Yes, 100%. I would be very much wanting to target Val Holmes this week. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up the stream there. Long one, hour 20, but thanks all for tuning in. I'm very happy that there was no buffering issues. So, yeah, first run on the internet. Aman's Microwave, shout out to you, the username. You didn't get me this week, which is good. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Very much appreciate your support as always. Do please give the stream a like if you enjoyed it. And have a good rest of your evening. And I will catch you all in the next one. And have a good one. See ya.